Because when I found out that there were sales directors who I actually thought, you know, were pretty good people, when I found out that there were friends of mine, when I found out that there were sales directors who were literally doing something so corrupt, so immoral, so unethical, to suggest a failed recruit sell her product on Marketplace while convincing a new recruit that she could sell it at retail, encouraging this girl to undercut this girl, I was just like, who am I being a martyr for? So, I am selling my inventory on buy and sell, and it is going awesome, and I am super pumped. But that is not a great way to start this video. I will say that I do want to encourage and inspire any I should be clear, any expired or terminated beauty consultants. I would encourage you to consider not letting your products sit on shelves, because I know that your director and the company are going to try and tell you that it is somehow illegal for you to sell something that you paid for, that belongs to you, because you signed a contract once upon a time, maybe years ago, maybe you've been out of the company for a couple years, and they're going to try and tell you that that contract that you signed 3 years ago is binding for life. I don't know where you live, and I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to say I highly doubt it. And I'm also going to say that I literally believed that for 5 years. Like, I was so in the spin cycle down the rabbit hole, willing to believe whatever nonsense spin cycle story was spun for me. I didn't expect to be so weird and goofy when I finally got on camera to talk about this. There's so many feelings. I was just crying earlier this morning. It's just a real roller coaster, y'all. A couple months ago, I did an interview with another YouTuber, Savvy Writes Books. Shout out to her. And in that interview, I talked about my experiences with Mary Kay, and I didn't even want to name the company. And I didn't want her to put me in the thumbnail, because I didn't want friends of mine who were still in Mary Kay, I didn't want them to see me on an anti-MLM video in the thumbnail and have them be hurt. And I didn't want, I wanted the information in my story to be out there, but I didn't want it to hurt people that I loved. And I didn't want it to hurt the business, the livelihood of people that I loved. And so for a period of a good year, including the time when I did that interview with Savvy, I really felt like I was talking out of both sides of my mouth, because on the one hand, I was like, my experience was terrible, and my experience was terrible, but I know that there are people who, you know, my experience doesn't apply to everybody, and I didn't want to ruin it for them. I guess that was really like my perspective, is I thought that what I had seen and experienced was localized to me, even though, I mean, in retrospect, why would I think that? Because it was everywhere I saw. Like this, you know, these problematic cycles of corruption were right in front of me. Why would I assume that it was localized to just me, even with all the terrible stories about Mary Kay that are floating out there? And I was so unwilling to connect the dots. This video was not supposed to be me berating myself for being so stupid. This is me just trying to check in. Okay, what happened? So, there are so many questions that I feel like need to be answered before I can actually get to the subject of this video, and those questions will be answered. Please drop them in the comment section, because I want to know, like, what would be the burning questions? One of those questions is, why didn't you send it back for the 90% reimbursement? So those who are unaware, Mary Kay does offer a 90% buyback guarantee for beauty consultants for any product that's been ordered in the last 12 months. And that's the answer. Any product that has been ordered in the last 12 months. So my inventory, you know, it accumulated over the course of 5 years, and it, you know, we didn't start out this out of control, but it accumulated over the course of 5 years. And by the time I was out, it was a slow fade. It took me a really long time to come to my senses and get my mind back. So it started out with, my last order with the company was in July. It was in July of 2019. I went to seminar and they were doing this, like they do every year, this stupid consistency challenge where if you order 600 wholesale every month for 6 months, every month you order, you get this little sparkly whatever the fuck, and then if you do it all 6 months, you get an even better sparkly whatever the fuck, and then everyone will know that you're top bitch. I decided that it was going to be really important for me to spend my literal last pennies on this 600 wholesale after I went to seminar in July. I'm not blaming anybody. That's just what I decided to do. I did it because I thought that what I really needed to learn was how to build consistency. In the same way that I have struggled with consistency on YouTube, I struggled with consistency in Mary Kay. And this was called the Consistency Challenge. So I thought, oh, if I can just like consistently be sucked in, then that will be great. Obviously, that's not what I thought. I thought, oh, I'll start with investing the 600, and then if I like make it like a priority that I always have to do this consistency thing, then I'll have to sell it. That's what I thought. There was all kinds of reasons how I thought I could somehow trick myself into doing this, and it never worked. But long story short, I placed my last order with the company in July of 2019. I stepped down as a director in December of 2019. So there was not a lot of new product, and at that time, I still had like all this going on, right? And so I did want to still have access to what support from the company, which it turns out there is none. There's nothing about being a legitimate consultant that makes it any easier to sell product, as far as I'm concerned. If you've got the product, you can sell it. You do not need to be an active consultant. But I thought at the time that I would probably want to come back in the future, you know, so that I could order lookbooks and so that I could get the new stuff that people wanted. And I just didn't really, when I quit in December, I thought that I would still want to keep my customer base. Of course, not realizing that I was about to lose my phone number. And then even once I lost my phone number, I mean, my last order was in July. It would have been like around $3,000 is what I would have gotten, maybe. But I wouldn't. Oh, but here's the other thing with Mary Kay. Oh man, this never would have worked. So my last order was in July. But what happens when you do a 90% is there's like the value of the product you're sending back, but then they look at all the like prizes and awards that you earned. So with my last order, when I did it, like I did that 600 inventory order in July. But prior to July, I also spent, you know, the reason I only had a couple pennies left in July is because I spent all my money in June finishing up the month end and earning a free cruise for 2 for me and my husband. So had I 90%ed the product that I ordered basically just while earning that cruise, they would have taken out of my 90%, they take back any prizes or gifts that you earned. So any of the wholesale bundles that you ordered, if you started out with the Ready Set Sell bundles and you got all that free product for every $600 increment up to like several $1,000s, that is non-returnable, and you will absolutely come out of your, and that is why they're giving you free product, my friend, because when you go to send it back, you can't send back the free stuff. That just goes against what you are owed. If you got any sparkly bangles from the company, that'll come out of your earnings. If you earned a quart of sales ring, that'll come out of your earnings. If you've earned a trip, if you've earned anything that you have earned that Mary Kay has given to you, if you go to 90%, the value of all those gifts is going to come out of your reimbursement. So for me, by the time I was leaving, 5 years in, I'd earned a car, I'd been on a trip, I'd earned a diamond ring, I'd earned a diamond bumblebee, I'd earned a diamond thing signifying that I earned the other 2, and double star for anyone who wants to know. I was a double star my first year as a director. All that stuff. Any free product from the company, anything that you would have gotten for free is the value of that is gonna get taken out of your reimbursement. So for me, with star prizes, right? If you're a star, the value of that star prize you claimed will get taken out. I've seen that happen to my recruits. So you will get 90% of what you've paid for in the last 12 months, minus the value of any of the dumb bullshit that they gave you. So the 90% buyback, I'm not saying it's not like a real thing. If you're brand new, I mean, and you haven't even taken your stuff out of the box, man, ship that stuff back. Or dump it on buy and sell and ruin it for everyone. Anyway. But No, that's it. That's why I couldn't sell it. That's why I couldn't 90% it. It's definitely not something for people who have been in the business for more than a year. It's for brand new people, I would say. Back as we were. Questions would be like, why did you, I'm just gonna let you see my whole stash here. Like why, I've sold about half of it. This is probably only about half left, you know. This is completely full still of lipsticks. Funny, no one wants to buy lipsticks in a pandemic where everyone wears masks, but we're hopeful, you know, vaccines are rolling out. One day somebody will buy my lipsticks. Yeah, okay, so we've sold about half. That's where we're at. So one of the questions would be like, why did you feel compelled to order so much product that you clearly could not sell to your customer base? That's a great question. I'm probably not going to answer it in this video. I want to answer, why did I decide to sell my product on Marketplace? After I said that, after holding on to it for a year, after saying in a YouTube video that I could never sell my product on Marketplace, and after all the things I said, all those years in Mary Kay about integrity, why now would I have decided to sell my product on Marketplace? That's the attempted focus of this video. I made the decision to list my product on Facebook Buy and Sell. So today we are on a Tuesday. So it was not this past Saturday, like 3 days ago, a week before that. So like 10 days ago. So 2 Saturdays ago, Sundays ago, I guess, I decided to start posting my product on Facebook Buy and Sell. And I will tell you why I decided to do that. I mean, I guess real quick, why couldn't I sell the product to my customer base? Honestly, now that I've been away from the business a while and I've allowed myself to like really think and I've like allowed my feelings to be valid again, and I'm not always on this like feelings aren't facts, and you know, you're just like, the reason that you don't want to follow people around the grocery store and try to book them for a Mary Kay class is because you're afraid of success, which, by the way, I don't think fear of success is even a thing. I think that's made up to make people have an excuse to fail at something like an MLM that's not the MLM. They're like, oh, it's my fear of success. I think that fear of success is made up and total bogus, but that's just me. So at the time though, I was like, oh, you know, it's not that I don't, it's not, you know, the reason that I hate following people around the grocery store like a stalker and like getting kicked out of the mall for soliciting people trying to do their shopping, and the reason I hate making booking calls and bothering people in the middle of their lives, it's not because it's objectively wrong and not just something you shouldn't do. No. The reason that I don't want to do these things is because I'm afraid of success, and I don't want to get out of my comfort zone, and I got to do what it takes, and I have to be willing to put myself out there. And I had this whole narrative of all the reasons why it was something with me that I needed to figure out why I couldn't make this Mary Kay thing work for me, even though objectively, with all my logic lists, it seemed like the perfect fit because I genuinely love people. It's a sales position, so you get to work with people. I like sales. I love helping people find their perfect whatever they need. I don't like being treated like a predatory scammer. And after a couple months in the business, it didn't matter that I was just genuinely trying to share a product that I loved with people. It got so, like, I am such a people positive person. And I thought that I just needed to learn to overcome rejection. I thought that that was like my big life path, that you know, because if I ever wanted to be like the artist and the writer and the YouTuber that I dreamed of, I would need to overcome this constant fucking rejection. And I thought, what a perfect training ground to overcome that. And so I thought that the rejection was normal because I knew that I wanted to work in a creative field anyway, and I'd always been told that rejection was inevitable in the creative industries, and it always kept me away. And then when I found myself in this MLM where like the rejection was constant and pervasive and ubiquitous, I was like, well, this is good, like it'll toughen me up. But it didn't. It just made me dislike myself. It just made me feel gross. And I remember when I was a consultant working up to director, I remember having this thought in my head, I can't wait until I'm a director and then I won't be scared anymore. And the best part of my business was when I was a consultant. If you are a Mary Kay consultant right now, stay a Mary Kay consultant or get out of the business. Do not move up into directorship. It is a scam. I mean, I will take that back. There's definitely going to be people who will be like, I'm a director and I'm killing it and it's always great and I never take advantage of people. And there's probably 1 or 2 people who are telling the truth when they say that. I do believe that there are ethical directors. I do believe that there are people working their businesses with real integrity, real actual, not Mary Kay integrity, but like actual honesty. But at the same time, having experienced the Mary Kay system for 5 years, it's not set up to make you grow in your morals. I think that if you're running your business, I'll just say that. I'll just say that people who are doing it the right way are the exception far and wide, to the point where I don't even know how much they really exist. But I can think of like 3 directors who I think are probably pretty good. So like they probably do exist, but you know, do they? I wouldn't be surprised. Like they're, you know, I know that my director friends will lie to me. I know, I could think that they're great and have integrity, but nothing at this point, the things that I have figured, God, I sound like a crazy person, a conspiracy theorist. But the things that I have realized in the last 10 days, the pieces are falling together. Like the coin is really dropped and I'm like, oh my, like I thought it was kind of bad, but like, guys, it's really bad. It's really bad. So, you know, I was a director and I hated doing the things you have. I hated the MLM advertising structure. It fucking sucks. It sucks. You can't advertise on buy and sell because then you're stealing business from other beauty consultants. What you're really doing is just exposing just how many beauty consultants are in your area, by the way. That's why they don't want you advertising in any public forum. You think they care about you guys stealing each other's customers? Most of you don't have customers, and they know that, okay? You're worried about people stealing your customers because you have 5 of them, all right? But head office is worried about you realizing that there's 17 beauty consultants on your block alone, and you all have the same friends. That's why you're not supposed to advertise at a public forum, all right? And that's why you're not supposed to sell it on Amazon. And that's why you're not supposed to sell it at flea markets and garage sales. It's not because of this incredible, pristine product. Like, people can't fucking understand that product, like, that everything ends up at a garage sale at some point, right? You'll find some Louis Vuitton's, God, I can't even say that brand. People are gonna find Gucci shit at yard sales. People aren't gonna find a Mary Kay lipstick at a yard sale and be like, ooh, I didn't realize Mary Kay was so trashy to be in yard sales and flea markets. Like, that's literally the reason they tell us we can't sell our product at flea markets and garage sales, because it like degrades the perception of the product. Do you know what degrades the perception of the product? People realizing just how unbelievably saturated the market is, and all the efforts that directors are taking and head office is taking to make sure that that just stays suppressed. But I have realized that I am not under a contract, and you cannot sue me for talking about my experiences. None of this is alleged. This is what I know. This is what I've seen. There's a part of me that's like, you should be a little more scared, but like, I gotta be honest. Like, somebody in the comments who knows a little bit more about stuff, like, check me before I wreck me, but I bring it on. If they wanna send me a cease and desist, none of this is legal advice. Y'all, I am mad and reckless. Reckless mermaid is reckless and rambling. I am on a fucking tear. So, why didn't I sell the product the way that you're supposed to? Because the way you're supposed to sucks, all right? I got to a point where I could not force myself to be a social pariah. You know, if you are, if people are looking at you with like distrust in their eyes all the time, and people are always having this kind of like cagey feeling, like they always feel like you're trying to sell them something, and you're like genuinely just trying to like connect with them and like build a business on human relationships, because that's all that I would ever want to do. But there's always this barrier, this big fucking pile of shit in between you and the person you're trying to connect with. And that pile of shit is a multi-level marketing scheme. And it's making you, me, the consultant, look stupid and untrustworthy. Even if I'm not intentionally. Even if I believe it. Even if I like am so sure that what I'm saying is true. And I was just thinking to myself this morning, you know, I wonder how many friendships I've missed out on in the last 5 years. You know, like Mary Kay always talks about the girlfriend time and all the people, you know, you'll meet in the cult with them. But like, what about like all the people that I met, you know, at weddings and music festivals? And like, I mean, I always, when I was like well, if I was at like a wedding or a music festival, I was off and I didn't even want to talk about my business. But I just think about like, you know, the people that I ran into, that I would get chatting with someone at the grocery store, and so many times, you know, I'd be like, you know, ask for her number, and I did, but then it got to the point where I didn't anymore, because I got so tired of these like nice, innocent social exchanges being like sullied by an MLM's need to monetize every fucking human interaction. And it just, yeah, I started letting, you know, warm chatting, like approaching people and offering them a facial, offering them a Mary Kay class. That was the easiest thing in the world for me. I've always had the easiest time making friends with strangers in the grocery store. Like, that's the easiest, most natural thing in the world for me. But when I started seeing that people didn't necessarily like love that, it was hard for me to keep doing it. And I thought that it was just my fear of success, or I didn't want to be uncomfortable, or my lack mentality, or I was keeping myself small. There were all these like you know, reasons why. Well, like again and again, like I just said, and if I wanted to have a future in any kind of a creative endeavor, I just need to get used to this rejection. That's what I thought. That's why I stuck around, because I just thought eventually, like, I would, you know, get to a point where it wouldn't bother me anymore. And that never happened. I'll tell you right now, if you're in Mary Kay and you're just like waiting to overcome your fear of rejection and overcome your lack mentality and overcome your fear of success, you're probably trying to overcome your conscience. Because if you're doing something and it feels wrong, and the people around you are like reflecting these cues that what you're doing isn't really very socially acceptable, I would posit that what you're doing isn't acceptable at all, right? Because we, as the meme says, we live in a society. We do though. We live in a society. There's literally a customer texting me. Okay. We live in a society, and the way that we are able to all like pack into, you know, cities and countries like rats is because we have these set of there's social norms. There are things that we've all agreed upon. There's laws, of course. There's also just things we've agreed on, right? That we don't do to one another because it's annoying, and we've all agreed that we're gonna live together and do our best to get along. And people irritate each other all the time. I'm not unaware of this. But, you know, there's a lot of things that are just like common courtesy that you don't do, and people generally don't do them just for the sake of keeping, you know, the wheels of society rolling. And I think that these MLM structures that are just injecting you out into the wild, onto these unsuspecting people of society, and saying, you know, it doesn't really matter if what you're doing is socially unacceptable and people don't really like it. They're just, they're like crabs. If people don't like what you're doing, they're just trying to keep you down with them. They don't like that you have all this vision and these dreams and that you're doing all this stuff for yourself, and so they want to keep you down and miserable. What a gross view of the rest of the world, by the way. And you see how this, like, everyone who doesn't like what I'm doing is just sad, and they're you know, why are they so concerned about me anyway? They're concerned about you because you're doing something that's questionable. And we all live in a society, okay? We police ourselves by being like, hey, you know, probably not cool, and with weird looks and passive-aggressive whatevers. And I would say that, you know, so much of what you have to do to market product in an MLM structure is socially unacceptable, right? Like creeping into someone's DMs that you haven't talked to for 8 years and being like, hey girl, wanna buy a thing from me? Socially unacceptable, right? Meeting somebody at a wedding and immediately trying to turn that relationship into like a business thing for you to make money, socially unacceptable. Following somebody around the grocery store to the point where she starts to feel uncomfortable because you just want to give her your business card and invite her for a facial, socially unacceptable. Getting kicked out of a strip mall because you're harassing people trying to shop and handing out business cards and lookbooks and samples and inviting them for a Mary Kay facial, or doing the same thing in the parking lot, socially unacceptable. Yes, I did most of those things when I was a sales director. I was told to. I was taught that that was the way we built our business. You know, because we couldn't do any actual advertising. And I mean, those tactics do work to a certain group of people, for sure. You do absolutely get customers that way. I built a customer base that way. Some of those people actually became my friends. I don't know. Like, the fact that I could meet a girl at Starbucks who's like studying for a final, chat with her for a while, and eventually like she would eventually become a friend of mine, that's not going to happen for most people. Like, that's a story for a different day. But I was able to do these socially unacceptable things and still turn some of those people into real genuine friends. That's what I'm saying. But that's not a reason to do it, right? Just because I was able to act like a weirdo and then use social skills to finesse my way out of it and make them realize that I am a real genuine person, just in a bit of a weird situation, and that they would give me a chance and often become my customer, you know, or my friend. That worked all the time for me. Absolutely. My numbers were great. I don't want to brag, but when I worked, my numbers were great. I never fucking worked. I found it so hard year in and year out to make myself do this atrocious, socially unacceptable, cringy, annoying, embarrassing bullshit to people. And finally, I just came to a point where I was like, you know, I can't do it. I'm not going to make myself do it. It doesn't matter how long I stay here. You know, my unit was in shambles, and I was still being asked to stand up in front of dozens or hundreds of people and tell them how great and successful Mary Kay was and how much I had learned and how much I loved my life, while I and everyone around me was just absolutely bleeding money. All to keep the hamster wheel turning and the house of cards from falling down, because I was so deep into it that I thought, you know, I just thought that one day I'll figure it out and I'll get it together, and then I'll be an awesome sales director, and I'll have the car, and I'll have the career, and I'll have the lifestyle, and people will get it, and I'll have time to write books, and, you know, I'll have all this extra time for all my creative endeavors that I wouldn't have with my regular job, right? That's what I thought. But I was so mentally taxed the entire time I was in Mary Kay that I couldn't hardly write a fucking word. And I knew that in here. But in here, I just let, like, I let myself just get sucked in to this logic cycle, and it overcame my heart impulses and my gut feelings. And I let it do that. So that's the backstory. It's probably gonna end up a different video. So I eventually had to step down as a director and just stop. By the time I actually stepped down, my cell phone had been cut off because I hadn't been able to pay the bill for a while, and that was nothing new. My cell phone was cut off constantly, and then I'd pay all the backlog and the connection fee, you know, then I'd go have a sale, find some cash, pay my phone bill and the reconnect. Often I would call and they would waive the reconnection fee for me because I was nice. I'd gotten my phone cut off, and then at the beginning of December 2019, I stepped down as a sales director because I just knew that I could not make myself, like, in order to keep my unit, I needed to recruit like 20 people, and I just didn't even want to recruit one person, you know? Like my unit got down to like 14. I don't know how I never lost my unit. It got down to like 17 or something. Just the struggling, kicking spasms. The ghost of a unit. Because I couldn't add people. Like how, it just was like the amount of like cognitive dissonance to convince someone that this was a business where I was making money and people made money, but I needed that person to join just so that I could start making money. Like it was just like, and I always, you know, knew that if I could just get people into my unit and then the numbers would be good and we'd get going and I'd feel like I wasn't such a liar and a pretender, and then it would be easy. Like I thought maybe the reason it was hard is because it was so hard, but I realized like I would never, how was I gonna add 20 to 100 people to turn it into something real when I didn't even believe in it? So I knew that I had no interest in doing the work. So finally, at the beginning of December 2019, I sent my letter to the company that I was stepping down as a director and I was done. And at that point, my phone was already cut off, so like nobody could call me anyway. And so then I left my phone cut off. But remember, with iMessage, I could still text some people if I was at home. But they couldn't call me or anything. So I, basically turned my phone off for a long, long time. And I never actually got... Oh, okay, and then I finally got myself to a point in like February where I could pay off my backlog, because remember I just like shut down for a couple months after I gave up my directorship, and I finally had enough money from scraping some sales together, probably through Facebook Messenger, I bet, to pay it off. And I was like 3 days too late, because if you go 3 months without paying your phone, it gets cut off. And then I guess it's cut off, there's like a grace period of like 30 days, I think, to pay it up. And if you don't, then your contract is terminated. You have to pay the contract out in full. And so that's what but I didn't have like the 700, I only had like 700 and some dollars left on my contract. I was almost out. Well, I didn't have the 700 and some dollars. So I was like, well, I mean, all right, I guess I just don't have a phone. So then I just continued to not have a phone forever. And that's why no one from head office has called me, because I have a new phone number. I've had it for like 6 months, and there's like 4 people who know it, and we are going to keep it that way. But the reason that I'm telling you this sad little side tangent is because when my phone got disconnected, obviously my customers who didn't also have iPhones or didn't use iMessage couldn't text me, and none of them could call me. And so all of my sales from that point on more or less relied entirely on me. There was going to be no reorders. So any and all work that I had done up until that point when I stepped down as a director, it kind of just got like washed down the stream of my own self-destruction. Because when I lost my phone number, none of the people who, you know, were loyal customers could reach out to me for reorder, and I didn't know who considered themselves a loyal customer, because people will pop up out of like after like a year suddenly needing skincare. So I didn't know who to reach out to. I reached out to a handful of people that I knew would be like, you know, would be wanting skincare, and like my best customers. But most of the people I reached out to honestly didn't like respond back. And so there's a girl out there named Courtney who's getting all this harassment from my customers and everybody else about this. Sorry, girl. Anyway, so yeah, that was what happened for me to not have a phone number that my customers could reach me at. And at this point, I was no longer willing to market it the creepy way. And I didn't want it. I didn't want it anymore. And I had like $10,000 of it in my house. And I was just going to try and use it up myself, sell it as much as I could, and then I didn't know, maybe donate it to a shelter and just pay, and then just, you know, pay the equivalent of a small mortgage on the loan. And we still had about 3.25 years left on that. That's where we were at a week ago. So yeah, I stepped down. I was just gonna let this product sit here until a while, and so we continued to pay, you know, $500 and some a month of debt payments for an entire year, with me not trying to sell the product anywhere on buy and sell or anywhere public, because I didn't want to take business away from the, you know, legitimate beauty consultants. I didn't want to tempt their customers with my blowout sales. I didn't want to harm their businesses. So I kept it for a whole year in my house, and I didn't hardly sell any of it. I sold about $2,000 of it. And then we finally, 27 minutes and 37 seconds later, I finally got to it. Actually, I'm surprised I made it through 5 years of trauma in 20 minutes. I'm getting quicker. So, a week and a half ago, Saturday night. Shit, I have to back up a little bit, I'm sorry. So, this past summer, 6 months into my no longer being a director, a friend of mine who had always considered Mary Kay, and she'd actually signed up before with me, but then immediately freaked out and didn't do anything. Just, you know, one time she even sent her starter kit back, I think, before it even got processed. So anyway, so she was a friend of mine, and she had signed with me, but she never ordered any product or anything. She kind of like immediately freaked out and didn't give it a try. So she reached out to me this summer, and so she reached out to me, and a friend of mine who was still a director in the business, she reached out and said, hey, this mutual friend of ours wants to give Mary Kay another shot, and since she was originally your recruit, I just wanted to make sure, like, I figured that you'd be fine with it since you're not even in the business anymore, but I just wanted to let you know. Which I thought was awesome. And side note, after I quit being a director and after I quit being a consultant, everyone in Mary Kay was super sweet and nice to me, very supportive, reaching out, asking how I was doing, letting me know that they were selling, you know, if one of my customers was looking for me, helping them get, like, people were really nice and great. And I did not have that bad experience at first that you hear about. And I now understand why I didn't have that same bad experience, but we'll get to that in a minute. No, everyone was super great and sweet and supportive, or just totally never talked to me, like just disappeared, and that was fine too. Like my national, I never heard from her again after I stepped down, and that's fine. Same thing with my senior. No, that's not true. I heard from her. I just never heard from my national. Okay. My senior was really nice to me, way nicer to me than she ever was as my director. She was horrible, but that's a whole different story. So everyone was nice to me when I left, and, you know, were respectful of my customers, like was the Mary Kay way, and even respectful of my past recruits. And so, you know, it looked like everyone was, you know, the whole integrity deal. And then this friend of mine decided that she wanted to sign. And I had already, you know, done some of the anti-MLM watching, and I felt a pang when she told me that, because I didn't know what to do. I wondered how much of her decision to really sign and start with inventory, I wondered how much of her decision was because of the success that I had, the fake success that I had modeled for 4 years while I was driving a car and telling people I was doing great, because I was told to tell people I was doing great, and if I told people I wasn't doing great, it would make all of Mary Kay look bad. And so the logic for me was, just because I'm not doing great doesn't mean I need to ruin it for everybody else who really is, you know, who's really figured it out and is really killing it and supporting her family. Like, I can't, just because I'm a pathetic loser who doesn't want to harass people at the mall, doesn't mean that I should be honest about that and ruin it for the people who are pathetic losers and want to harass people at the mall. You know, was basically what I thought. I didn't want to ruin it for the legitimate consultants who were building their businesses and, you know, doing the thing. So I didn't want to, so I didn't know, so I had modeled this success that I wasn't actually experiencing for myself. And when my friend wanted to sign up, I just wondered how much of it I was responsible for. And I mean, of course, I'd been kind of carrying this burden ever since I had left. I carried the burden when I was in the company, because I just realized how much of a endorsement of all the bullshit it was for me to be there. My friend wanted to sign, and I don't want to warn her, but see, this friend is very, very sensible. She's already bailed on this Mary Kay thing twice before, so I was like, I don't think that she's gonna get real sucked in, and I decided I would let her come to her own conclusions, because I was afraid that if I said something, it might be immediately turned back into, oh, well, she's just negative, oh, she's just sour grapes because she failed at Mary Kay, and she doesn't, you know, she's just bitter because she failed, or she's just sad because she gave up, and now you're such a great recruit and she can't have you. You know, I didn't want to seem like I was trying to mess with her shiz, because then I knew that the propaganda machine would fire up. So I was just like, oh, you know, great, like, I think you'll probably be great. And, you know, the thing is I thought she probably would be okay. Like, she had skills to sell the product, and I didn't think she'd get too far down, so I just, you know, said, okay, well, hey, like, give it a shot, see how it goes. And her experience over the last 6 or so months was really, really eye-opening for me, because I got to watch the experience and hear honest feedback, not through my own spin-cycled brain, and not, like, through the bullshit facade of, like, all the, it's great, and live in your vision, not your circumstance, and all the, like, twisting of words and logic and mental gymnastics that goes on to try to make things look better, but somehow we're not better than they are, but somehow we're not lying, we're just living in our vision. All right. So this friend wants to sign, and I say, okay, go for it. And she does her first Facebook party, and she sells like $1,000, and I'm like, she did well, okay, shit, because that's how I got started. That's how it got me, because I did well at first. And it wets your whistle. Makes you think it's possible. And I would throw back to those first 2 months of success for years, trying to be like, how did I, you know, how was I able to do this? Well, I was yeah, it was so easy when I just focused on the product, because the product is legitimately great, in my opinion, and in the opinions of all the people who have bought all this product in the last week. It's been literally flying off my shelves. People love this product. If you can just advertise it, people will buy it, just so that you know. If you have this product in your house and you want to sell it, if you advertise it, mark it down to wholesale, what you paid for it, that's what I did. Marked it half price, no tax, out the door. It's out the door, you guys. It was the scariest, most humiliating thing I ever did, to go public with my experience. Absolutely. So, this friend, she starts. She has a Facebook party. She sells $1,000. And I'm like, me, as a past director, I'm like, oh man, she's doing great. How's this gonna go? She starts with about probably a Ruby order, 2,400, I betcha. 2,400 wholesale she starts with, closer to 3,000 shipping and taxes. Spends about $3,000 on inventory. And she has another Facebook party. And I asked her how it went. And she goes, well, you know, by the time I did all the, you know, the hostess giveaway and you know, I only made $20. She literally profited $20 from that party. And see, I don't know how many classes and parties I had where I lost money or broke even, because we were always told, you know, you gotta like, you don't look at the day on the dollar, right? You know, you're building those relationships and the reorder business, and you're gonna have the passive income, and if you follow the money trail, you know, and they'll give you referrals and whatever. And so for me, I wasn't looking for fast cash. I was trying to build a business. And so I was like, all right, like slow and steady wins the race. And I think that that is pretty true. I think that if you just focus on the product and building the relationships, I think that if you're a consultant who's been in the business for decades and you have an established customer base and it's going well for you, you are in the sweet spot. I am so jealous of you. If you were a consultant who's been spinning your wheels in this business for years and you've got that customer base, but you just can't get into Red Jacket or you just can't get into DIQ, that's because Red Jacket and DIQ is bullshit. Don't do any of that. I'm so jealous. All those years of seeing these like career consultants looking up to me because I was in this sparkly, ridiculous suit and I ran around acting like a moron, pretending I was so successful. All this time that you guys were looking up to me and you just wanted to be in the suit and you wanted the car and you wanted to be me, just know that I wanted to be you. Like, gosh, did I want to be you. A career consultant with decades of experience and an established customer base who wants the product and likes you. Guys, that's as good as it gets in Mary Kay. That is absolutely as good as it gets. The rest of it is just fakery and deceit. But the product is legitimately good, in my opinion. So if you legitimately like it and you have customers who legitimately like it and you've already got that established customer base, that's very important, because I'm going to get to why it's brutal for a new consultant and you shouldn't start, and if you just started, you should not go on. Because it's outrageous, and it's the reason for all of this. So, yeah, my friend had her second party and she said, you know, I only made $20. And we went for a walk one day and she's like, you know, I decided I'm gonna quit. I'm sending my inventory back. I'm doing the 90% thing because honestly, it's a lot of work for not a lot. And that really was eye-opening for me, because I grew up on a farm, and we often talk about this, me and my family, how we don't like value our time, and we don't value ourselves, and we don't know how much we're worth. But this friend of mine, she's a social worker, and she makes like, you know, real person money, like real adults with university degrees who have like professional careers. You know, she has like a real income, like a real salary. And you know, hearing how much she makes compared to how much, like, I was so impressed with so little from people in there. Even like my national with her six-figure income, I know that she pays probably half of it to staff, because in order to like get to the point of a national sales director in Mary Kay, you need to have literally thousands of people in your area. And in order to actually do anything with that volume of people, you need to have staff. So by the time you're done paying like your office assistant, and maybe you have you might have like a graphic, like they have, you know, online a virtual assistant. Like by the time you're done paying, she had like 4 people in her office, up to 4 people working. I bet you she paid out $40,000 a year in salaries, and probably only brought in like about $120,000, right? And then you throw taxes and all the expenses at national sales directors. She's probably making less than my friend who just started as the beauty consultant. My national probably made less than, like by the time, like take home, she probably makes less than like most people who have a university degree and just go to work and have professional careers. Not that it's about university degree. You could be a tradesperson. That's not my point. I just mean anyone who's not like at an entry-level job. You know, like I was working retail when I started Mary Kay. I was working minimum wage, right? So like my standards for what was great money were like so freaking low. And I'm pointing that out because I just wonder how many people are in that same position where they're like impressed with a small amount of money. So yeah, talking to my friend and just getting like really realizing how much like regular people, adults make, and you know, like that's just not our experience. Like we've just never had that, and maybe that's why I never was great at Mary Kay, because I just couldn't even envision. I couldn't even envision myself with a normal income, and that's why. Because if I could have believed it, I would have achieved it. What do you think? Think that's true? So this friend said, you know, like, I thought she was doing really well, thought she had a great start. And she said, you know, I feel like it's a lot of work for not a lot of money. You know, everything's like around $20 and people are texting you and you're dropping product off and you're filling orders and you're answering questions. And even like when it's going well, it's just like a lot for not a lot. And that was like, dun dun. Because, you know, Mary Kay consultants are brainwashed to believe that this is the best money in the world and no one's making more and no one's happier and you'll never be as rich as you are here. You'll never be as rich and happy as you could be here. So for somebody who just is like a regular person with a regular job to be like, yeah, I mean, I'm doing well, but it's still not worth it. It's not. So that was interesting. So yeah, like hearing her experience about how it was just like a lot for not a lot of work for not a lot of money, it was just really eye-opening and maybe just the whole thing seemed a lot less worth it, honestly. And so then she was thinking of 90%ing it, and like I said, her director was a mutual friend of ours, and so I said to her, yeah, I mean, just, yeah, you can 90% it, this is the procedure, told her what she would do, and I said, your director will try to stop you from doing this, because I don't know if I should tell you this because I don't want you to feel bad, but she's going to get a charge back on her next commission check. Because see, that's what happens. When people start with inventory and then they send it back to the company, Mary Kay doesn't lose any money. All the money gets lost by the director because all the commissions that got paid out on that order gets clawed back from the director next month in her commission check, and I will guarantee you that she needs that money and she's already spent it. Chances are. So I told her, you know, just so you know, your director's going to try to stop you, but this is why. And I'm not telling you this so that you feel any guilt over it. I'm just telling you this so that, like, you know why she's trying to stop you. And so the consultant was like, all right, well, I mean, I've made up my mind. Like, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. And so, you know, she's probably going to try and talk me into selling it, but I'm not going to do it. Or she's probably going to try to talk me into selling it, but I don't want to do a lot, you know, I'll see what happens. Okay, a couple weeks goes by, and me and my husband are out at this ex-consultant now, out at her place, having a hot tub party. So I'm out at this friend's place. We're having a social gathering because we can have people. So the two couple, yeah. So me and my husband got together with her and her husband, and celebrated the fact that we could be in a house together. Basically. And while we were doing that, this consultant, this ex-consultant, I gotta give her a name. This is getting too hard. Okay, her name is Sammy. So Sammy says to me, oh my gosh, why would I pick a name that starts with an S when I have a lisp? So Sammy says to me, she says, okay, I'm not gonna call her Sammy, I'm gonna call her Petra, because I gotta give myself a break here. All right, so we'll call her Petra. So Petra says to me, so I talked to my director. We'll call her Daisy. So I talked to my director, Daisy, and Daisy told me to just list it on buy and sell, to just list it on Marketplace. So I've just been blowing it off 50% and listing it on Marketplace. Petra told me this on Saturday night. And you know, we were chilling. And it was a social, and so I wasn't overly like and I was just like, huh. And I was like, so your director, Daisy, told you to sell your product at 50% off on Marketplace, even though I know that she has been party to harassing other consultants for trying to sell their product on Marketplace. But now, because you're friends, and probably because she's getting a lot of chargebacks from her COVID signups, it's okay, because Petra, you've only got like 2,000 wholesale on you. It'll barely make a difference. It'll be gone before anyone notices it. Hardly anybody will notice. So just do it. Go ahead. You guys, I found this out 10 days ago, and I am getting so mad thinking about it again. Because it's not because of the, well, it is because of the unfairness, but you guys, if you've been a Mary Kay sales director, or if you understand how these MLM structures work, you'll understand why this is so sick. But if that's not you, let me just lay it out for you. Based on my experience and what I observed, sales directors don't really pay their bills on new business, on new business from sales, okay? They recruit people into their units, And they often usually, you know, convince them to start with inventory because new is excited. That's what they teach us in Mary Kay as directors. You always need to add 10 to 20, 10 new people is maintenance for your unit, 20 new people is growth. So you always need to add 10 to 20 new people to your unit every single month. And that will help assure your production because new is excited. I would say new is not yet in debt and completely broke and disillusioned. That's the only difference between, why would new people be better for production than seasoned, experienced sellers? That's a totally different video because I got lots of tea about that shit, but we're trying to move forward. I've been talking for 47 minutes. So sales directors don't really, you know, when I got kicked, I've now been kicked out of every director group, so I can't pull these receipts. But, you know, when I was a sales director a year ago, for those 4 years, I would say that most sales directors average between like 3 or 4 faces a month. I'm actually going to say this in a different clip, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, you know, sales directors don't sell product to a lot of new faces. They are usually, you know, if they did actually establish a customer base in the process of becoming a director, they'll be selling product to those people and like some new people. But sales directors are often usually just more focused on recruiting, and so that's like the big focus. And you know, it's always pitched to you that your commissions checks are going to be so outrageously large, and so you just want to become a director so you can have these fantastical commission checks, and that's what you'll like, you know, that'll be your thing that you mostly live on. Now, to be fair, in the company, they did always tell us that you should, live off your sales and bank your commissions. That's actually what they taught. They did tell us, live off your sales and bank your commissions. I would say that the number of sales directors that actually do that, the number is probably between 0 and 1 of any population. The number of sales directors doing that in my city, that number is between 0 and 1. The number of sales directors doing that in my province, in my country, in North America, I would say at any given time there's between 0 and 1 sales directors that are actually doing that. Of course, that's just a guess. I mean, there's allegedly millions of beauty consultants and hundreds of directors. Surely to God, there's like at least 4 of them that are really living off their sales and banking their commissions. Who knows? Maybe they are. But I'll just say that in my city, in my localized experience, I did not see that. And then when I got brave and I went on Pink Truth and I started reading about other people's experiences all over the country and the world, and I started seeing other sales directors who understood the system, looking at the system and pointing out the flaws in the system, and it making so much sense to me because they know what they're talking about, because they were, a lot of them, sales directors for decades. Some of them still are sales directors on Pink Truth. And they'll go and look at the numbers that people are claiming to have and say, like, this isn't true. She didn't really earn her car. She invested she invested $100,000 in month 6 of Cadillac production, of Cadillac qualifications. And she's continued to never qualify for that Cadillac ever since. You know, they'll do things like that. Look at the way that people make it look like they've earned a Cadillac and say, but look at what happened after all the hype. After the person's done being a big Mary Kay celebrity and they're not being talked about anymore. So that was really eye-opening. And for me to hear stories from directors who had been on like Top Trip, like someone went on the Top Trip and she said that what she saw on the Top Trip was about 40% of the directors who qualify for the Top Trip are hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt. And so I know that this fishiness, this buying inventory to earn trips or to earn, you know, whatever it is that people are doing it for. I'm not claiming that I did it personally, but I'm saying I saw it. People are even, I've read that people are even literally buying national areas. And it kind of makes sense when you think of how people, you know, it used to be that a national sales director, you know, like my national sales director was like one of the first ones. So it really kind of checks off that box of get in on the ground floor, right? She got in really early. She did eventually become a sales director, or national sales director. It took her like 20 years. This is too much of a tangent. I'm gonna have to cut this all. Yeah, it took her like 20 years, and now we have people becoming national sales directors in like 18 months. You know, it's just like a competition to be it's just a competition to see like who can be the most unprepared, least qualified person in leadership in this company. And they just rah everyone who moves up the ladder so incredibly fast, and they just create this frenzy of people who want to break records. And that's like the focus of Mary Kay right now, and probably always, is just breaking records. Who can be the youngest, most unqualified, inexperienced person for their job? And who can do it the fastest? And who can drag the most people down with them? It's literally a race to the bottom. It's awful. It sucks. So I knew those things. But I still thought, you know, but I have friends who are in the spin cycle, and I don't want to, you know, I'm not trying to hurt anybody. But then I find out that there's directors telling their consultants to sell their product on buy and sell. Sales directors do not, generally speaking, subsist off of sales to new business. It's a lot of old established customers and trying to live off your commission and living off your commissions checks. So when you have a sales director who recruits somebody, and she's got this new recruit, and she says, hey, Lucy, this product is great and you're going to be great at this and you should definitely have inventory. And you will have no problem selling this at retail because the product is so great and the marketing plan is so bomb. So Lucy's like, all right, sure. And she decides to start with some inventory. But then later on that day, that exact same sales director who just told Lucy that she can sell this product at retail prices, no problem. That sales director is going to turn around and say to Petra, who's been in the business for 3 months and doesn't want to do it anymore and doesn't want her inventory, she's going to say, oh, don't 90% it, just put it on Marketplace. So she's telling this girl that she needs to order inventory so that because she can't sell from an empty wagon. This girl needs to order inventory, and you're assuring her that she's going to be able to pay her bills selling this product. But then you're going to turn around over here and tell this girl to sell it at 50% off on Marketplace, undercutting this new recruit. You're going to tell this recruit to do that because you, the director, don't want to get that 90% charge back on your next commission check. Because side note, ever since COVID happened, all I've heard from the outside is how great everyone's doing in Mary Kay and all the other MLMs, but everyone's doing so great in Mary Kay now because of COVID. And I thought that's so strange, you know, people are earning their rings by whatever. And I thought that's so strange because how? How are they convincing people to come in with inventories when everything is direct shipping to customers? Like, they have to be actually selling it to customers now. And no, they're not. They're reaching out to people on Facebook who are desperate. They're convincing those people that they can make money. They're convincing those people for some reason that they still need to have product on hand. Probably, I bet you the scripting is all the real stores are closed, but you don't have to be. I bet you that's what they're saying. I haven't even heard anyone in Mary Kay say that, but I was in it long. I mean, part of the fucking hive mind. I bet you that's exactly what they're telling people. So you're telling people that they need to have this product in their house during a pandemic when they can't have people over. But that's fine. You're telling people they need to have this product in their house. But then if it turns out that they weren't actually doing that, you know, it turns out that your COVID signups aren't actually killing it like you've been telling everybody on social media for the last year, you know, and you're getting like a lot of chargebacks and it's starting to look kind of bad for you. So you just tell them to quietly sell it on Marketplace so that it doesn't affect your bottom line, so that you can still pay your bills. And like literally fuck Lucy. Fuck Lucy, who just signed up with Mary Kay and started with inventory, really believing that she was gonna sell it at 50% markup. When her very sales director is gonna turn around and tell her other recruit Petra to dump that shit at 50% off on Marketplace because the sales director Daisy doesn't want it to affect her bottom line because she lives off of her commission checks, because she hasn't been making a living selling this product for years. Because if Daisy was making a living selling this product and she was so confident, why wouldn't she just sell it at the full price? Like, why would she encourage her recruit to sell it on Marketplace and ruin it for everyone? So that made me mad. And the next morning, you know, I came home from the little gathering, woke up, and I just started posting things on Marketplace. And I did it quietly, and I didn't want to raise a big stink, but I did want to sell the product. So, you know, I posted foundations, I posted lip glosses. It was just like the odd item, and I would include a link to my private customer group, trying to redirect traffic from Marketplace over into my group. That was the way I handled it because I had so much product to sell, I could not sell it on Marketplace. And I was just happily posting my product for 2 days, and I just had like this steady stream of, you know, foundations and things that were going, and it was just trickling out the door. just steady, but nothing, you know, it was gonna take, it was slow, but steady, and it was leaving, and I felt pretty good about it. But I also realized it was gonna take forever. And then, on the second day of me posting this product on a Monday, a sales director who I used to work with in this area decided that she would call me not once, but twice in a row. I was actually talking to my mom on the phone, so I didn't answer, but she tried to call me on Facebook Messenger twice. And so I texted her and was like, I'm on the phone with my mom, like, leave me the fuck alone. And she was like, well, can you call me when you're done? And I finished up talking with my mom and asked my mom what I should say to this nosy person. And mom was like, well, I mean, unless she wants to buy the product from you, I don't know why you talk. Well, I said to her, I probably shouldn't ignore this person because she's clearly gonna call me forever. And mom said, just text her back and say, you know, I'm in the middle of running a sale right now, and if you want to buy product, I got time to talk. But if you're not buying, I'm not talking. And so I basically did. I said, you know what, I don't have time to talk right now. What did you want? I said, I don't have time to talk right now. I'm running a sale and I'm busy, but what do you want? And there were the 3 dots, and there were the 3 dots, and there were the 3 dots. And I think this is a good time to end it because I gotta get going with this sale some more. I'll just say she shouldn't have, they could have just left me alone. They could have just let me quietly sell my product on buy and sell, and I wasn't gonna hurt. I didn't want to hurt anybody. I didn't want to make a big scene. I didn't want to make a big stink. I just wanted to get this off my shelf. Because when I found out that there were sales directors who I actually thought, you know, were pretty good people, when I found out that there were friends of mine, when I found out that there were sales directors who were literally doing something so corrupt, so immoral, so unethical, to suggest a failed recruit sell her product on Marketplace while convincing a new recruit that she could sell it at retail, encouraging this girl to undercut this girl, I was just like, who am I being a martyr for? I have thousands of dollars of debt and thousands of dollars of inventory on my shelf. I have a new phone number and none of my old customer base knows it. And I have absolutely no desire to market this product the way that they want me to, because the way that we're supposed to market it is gross and distasteful to me. And this is like a weird thing to bother me, I realize, but for me, I also consider the environmental impact. How many, like, just to be a little dramatic, like, do you guys understand, like, the volume of plastic and lotions, the volume, the sheer amount of vinyl, plastic tubes, all this shit in the fucking landfill? All of this. You wanted to see all this plastic in a landfill rotting for thousands of years. My dog is so freaked out. You wanted this. You wanted to see all this plastic rotting in the ground, poisoning the world for thousands of years longer? And there are people who like this product and it has been flying off my shelves since I posted it, because people like it and they want it. And you were gonna put all this plastic, you suggested that I throw it in the garbage. Let it expire on my shelf until nobody wants it. And it's just trash. Oh, you bet that pisses me off. Hashtag pink does green. That's sick too. We poison people. We poison societies with this Mary Kay bullshit. And then we're gonna poison the earth. So that millennia after this shit gets shut down, it continues to sit and putrefy. No. Right now, this product is great. And people want it. And I'm gonna sell it to them.